Hello. Always very excited to say hello. I said I would do a live, and it wasn't going to be spontaneous. I am doing a live. I am doing a live. It's only just gone past 6, and I'm doing a live today talking to you about nervous puppies. Oh, nervous puppies is something that I'm getting a lot of emails about. I have a nervous puppy, in fact. I have a nervous puppy. So I'm going to be talking today about nervous puppies. I am going to be talking about what to do with nervous puppies, all of the myths relating to nervous puppies, and all sorts of other things relating to nervous puppies. I've got my notes. If you see me look off screen, I can't remember all these things off the top of my head. I have puppy brain, which by the way is a legitimate thing as far as I am concerned. So I can't remember these things off the top of my head. So if you see me looking, I am literally looking at notes, but it's better that I have notes because otherwise I go blank. So what are we talking about today? Nervous puppies. So nervous puppies, I have a nervous puppy. I have a 5-month-old Whippet puppy. Whippets can definitely be prone to being a bit sensitive at the best of times. Some of you knew Arthur. He was not scared of anything as a puppy. Arthur was like bomb-proof. He was literally, a bomb could have gone off and I don't think he'd have noticed. Whereas Arkle would probably notice a fly landing 3 blocks away. He is a different level of sensitive. So, puppy brain. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to blame Miami as well, Sarah. So, it's good though. I feel like it's a legitimate thing. I think you should be able to blame all sorts on puppy brain. So, puppies, there are loads of reasons, that we have anxious puppies or puppies are anxious. Is one of those topics that is popping up a lot at the moment, and people are very concerned that it's due to lockdown or it's due to not being able to meet enough people or dogs. But a puppy being nervous can be nervous for all kinds of reasons. There's loads of reasons why a puppy could be nervous. I'm losing my words, as you can see. I'm blaming my puppy again. So one of the reasons a puppy could be nervous is because they have had bad experiences. Some puppies may be nervous of dogs because they get consistently run up to by other dogs when they're out. Or they got consistently harassed by strangers when they're on a walk. They could have had a bad experience with a family dog. They could have had a bad experience with a noise and something scary happened. Those are just a few reasons why a puppy could be nervous. Another reason that puppies could be nervous, and I think it's a big underrated reason, and I think it's probably the biggest reason, and that is genetics. Genetics dictate a lot about how our puppies are going to turn out. Genetics give us like a blueprint almost of what our puppies might be like. What their parents' temperament is likely to be quite similar to how our puppies turn out. Genetics play a huge role. It's not unusual for people to find that it's not just one puppy in the litter that has presented with problems, but maybe the others have too. Genetics have I'm a big fan of learning about genetics. I have Whippets, loads of Whippets everywhere. And one of my Whippets, my older Whippets, he is from a breeder that isn't so good. It was many years ago, before we knew better. And it's very clear to me when I meet certain new Whippets, I can see the ones that are slightly related to Marley. It isn't unusual for this line of Whippets to be incredibly anxious. And because genetics count, if the parents were anxious, then it's likely that the pups are going to be too. Maybe even the grandparents. There's a lot of reasons why genetics can sort of make a huge imprint on our puppies. There are a lot of puppies who have had no bad experiences. Nothing bad has happened. They have had good experiences and they are still very anxious dogs. And genetics has a lot to answer for. Does that mean we can't do anything about it? No. There is loads that we can do, thankfully. Very uncomfortable, about a puppy who may have poor genetics. Not poor genetics, but genetics that suggest that they're going to be more nervous. There are loads of things that we could do. So let's talk about the things we could do. Let's talk about the things that we can do with a puppy who is nervous and the things we shouldn't do with a puppy who is nervous. So a puppy who is nervous of new situations, they may look like they are unhappy. They may have their tail tucked, they may have their ears pinned back, they might even be pulling. And they're not pulling because they're excited, they're pulling because they're so anxious. They just want to get out of the situation. So a puppy who is looking anxious may be fairly obvious, and in some breeds it may not be quite so obvious. Wolf says his father was his grandfather, so he stood no chance. Genetics do count quite a lot. It's frustrating a lot of the time, but it's one of those things. Unfortunately, I think that's quite common in some Sighthounds too. I was trying to think that through, but yes. So a puppy who is anxious or nervous, they may look really clearly anxious or nervous, or they may just look like a puppy who is pulling on the lead quite a lot and sort of in like a frenzied state. If we're outdoors and we have a puppy who is anxious, the thing that we don't want to be doing is we don't want to be pushing them into a situation. So, you know, there's always these TV trainers or people online who say if you make your dog deal with something and you show them it's not bad, they're absolutely fine. The problem is this is one of the worst things that you could do for a nervous puppy. If your puppy is saying, I am really scared of, you know, a man across the street. I'm really scared of this man. And I'm going to start like shying away from him and like skittering. And the puppy's saying like really loudly and clearly in the puppy's head, I'm really scared. I'm skittering away. I'm really anxious about this man. And then you take this puppy, you know, and you drag this puppy to this man and go, look, the man is fine. And then the man is probably from above, like petting them on the head, and the puppy's sort of squirming away. The puppy hasn't learned that he enjoys the company of strangers in that situation. He has learned that when he tells you he's anxious, he's not going to get listened to. When he has been quite clear, the trust isn't met back. It creates mistrust. The puppy is thinking, maybe next time I'm going to have to be a bit clearer about how much I dislike the stranger. Maybe I'm going to have to start barking. Maybe I'm going to have to start growling. Maybe I'm going to have to do this from a really big distance. Because when I told you I was anxious by skittering away and, you know, moving away as much as I could, you still dragged me over to that scary thing. So forcing a puppy to deal with something they're scared of is very likely going to backfire on you later. And I know this because this is what we did with Marley when he was younger. He was scared of everything, and we were told, often by like staff at like pet shops, take him to all the places, make him meet the people, make him engage with them. He will get used to it. Well, it only took a month of that before Marley started barking and lunging at everyone in sight, because he'd learned that he is scared, and when he says he's scared, he doesn't get listened to. So he's going to have to be louder. He's going to have to start shouting that he's scared, and he would like people to get away from him. So forcing your puppy to have to handle something that they're not ready to handle is going to make things worse. If I have a puppy who is nervous, I do, he's in the crate next to me, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try and take my puppy where they can see scary things at a distance they can handle before they get too worried. So Arkle is quite worried. He's quite worried by a lot of things. He's quite worried by noises, and he can be a little bit worried by dogs. Sometimes at the minute he can be a bit worried by men who are on their own as well, which wasn't a problem previously. So what we do a lot of at the minute is we take him to the fields, and at a big enough distance that he can handle, I just let him watch them. I prefer when we're in places where there's likely to be a lot of people and there's a lot of space, I'll pop him on a long line, not a retractable lead, just a trailing line, so that he has freedom as well to move, because freedom to move is very empowering for a dog, and it can help them make better choices when it comes to that fight or flight decision. When a dog has freedom to move, they are likely going to make better choices. I've lost my notes. So I am going to take him to that field, I'm going to have him on his long line, and when he notices the scary thing, I'm probably just going to chuck a load of food on the floor. Give him loads of food. This scary thing now means food. I'm not going to force him over. I'm just going to teach him scary thing equals food. It's not so bad. We'll move on. Always, as always, that's always slightly trickier if it's dogs your puppy is scared of, because not everybody has a very good recall on their dog. So sometimes it is about being creative in where you go. Sometimes you can take your puppy out in the car. Have them in the boot of the car. You know, go to somewhere where you know there's going to be things going on, and you're going to give them a con, sit with them, watch the world, see what happens, give them loads of tasty things, and you're always going to leave before something bad happens. Even if you're only there 5 to 10 minutes, even if you're only there less, because that is going to boost their confidence around a scary thing. And they're also going to learn that they can trust you because you're not putting them in situations that they can't handle. One of the biggest myths is, as well as forcing them into situations, is that your puppy needs a walk every day, twice a day, 3 times a day, depending on who you listen to. But the reality is, when you have a nervous puppy, it should be quality over quantity. You want to make sure those experiences are good. So I would rather you are more choosy, and if you had to go out in the car, regularly with a nervous puppy, and you're saying to me, I can't go out in the car every day, well, don't go out every day then. That's going to do the puppy more good than putting him in a situation he can't handle, than taking him on the walk where the people are going to touch him, or the dog's going to leap on him, or there's loads of traffic noises that he's not yet equipped to handle. Try and make sure that it's good quality, not quantity. So Arkle doesn't always have a walk every day because he's a bit of a typical sight hound, and a typical nervous sight hound, I should add, and he is very scared of the wind. The wind makes him all lose his mind, he's very worried by the wind. Sounds are more intense, everything is more intense in the wind. What an easy solution to that is at the minute, while he's young, I don't take him out in the wind. I'm not going to take him out in the wind because I don't want him to have bad experiences because he's not yet equipped to handle it. He will be, because what I'm doing by setting up all these positive experiences is I'm boosting his optimism. I am teaching him that new things can happen and they can result in good outcomes. Food or toy play. Arkle loves toys, so don't worry if it's not food that's your dog's thing. What toys do I have on me today? I have a sheepskin ring thingy. We quite like toys, so we'll use toys when we're out as well to pair with good things. Well, not good things to him, good things that will soon be good things to him. So I'm going to make sure that I would rather take him out for a good quality experience and keep taking him out and forcing him into situations he can't handle, because I know how that ends, because I have Marley, and I know that results in a dog who's probably going to start getting vocal. So I'm going to be choosy about the situations that I put my nervous puppy in, and I'm going to make sure that they are really good quality. If I have doubts about the situation, I'm probably going to err on the side of caution while I boost confidence. And again, boosting confidence could be going in the car and watching things go on in new places. It could be going out somewhere nice and open. Nice open places are the best places. Narrow streets with lots of cars and motorbikes are likely going to make a nervous puppy more anxious. It's noisy. So we've got this idea that we don't want to force them into situations. We don't want to take them for walks that are going to be counterproductive. So we want to be boosting their confidence with good experiences. What else do we need to be thinking about? What other things might you get told about your nervous puppy? By the way, you're welcome to comment. I don't know where the comment thing is on here. I'm just going to point wildly. So what other things? So you might be told if your puppy is nervous that they just need their confidence boosting, and maybe if they're nervous with other dogs, they should go to a puppy party, or whatever it's being called at the minute. Maybe you're being told that this puppy needs to go into like a big group of puppies or even adult dogs and run around with them. The problem is that there is a lot of scope for that to go wrong. There's a lot of scope for the other puppies to be normal, sociable puppies who aren't very good at reading social cues. Puppies aren't very good at reading social cues. So what's going to happen is that nervous puppy is probably going to be overwhelmed by a big group of dogs. And you've been told exactly this, sorry, yeah, and this is a really common thing to get told, and again, I was told it quite a lot with Marley, that I should take him out with loads of dogs. But the problem is, and I've seen it happen so, a lot of the reactive dogs I have worked with have previously gone to these puppy parties where the puppies are left to it. And the puppies mainly are left to it. There isn't a lot of structure always. It might have been different where you've been, but there's not always a lot of structure. We are told that the puppies will sort themselves out. But the problem with that is that the puppies sort themselves out. Yeah, that's it, Sarah. It can definitely be flooding. Some puppies, I'll come to that in a moment actually. But so what can happen is they sort themselves out. And what happens is one puppy who's very overexcited might learn it's very fun to chase the really nervous dog who is running for their lives. Comments are popping up and I promise I'm going to read them, but I can't read comments I've discovered as I'm reading and retaining a train of thought. I'm with you. I'm with your comments. I'll be with you. So at these puppy parties with hundreds of dogs is a big exaggeration. With a few dogs, is that the excited puppy is probably going to learn to chase the nervous puppy, because the nervous puppy is probably going to run for their life. And then maybe end up in a corner, and then maybe they're going to have to defend themselves. And it sort of reinforces to the nervous puppy that this wasn't so good an experience, because there were all these other puppies who don't yet understand social cues jumping all over me and pouncing on me. So what the excited dog's having a great time. Unfortunately, the excited dog is probably going to be the one who comes to me in 6 months because they don't have a recall, because their puppy learned that other puppies are so valuable. But for the nervous puppy, it's either going to make them worse and defensive, or it could be like Sarah mentioned there, it could be flooding, in that they eventually realize there's no escape. You know, there's puppies everywhere, no one's looking out for them necessarily, you know, no one's keeping those puppies away, no one's redirecting them somewhere else. They just sort of go, okay, right, well, I can't get out of it, I'm just going to have to pretend it's not happening, basically. And I'm just going to shut down and act like I'm okay. But underneath their appearance of acting okay, they're actually very anxious still underneath. And it can really result in some really bad outcomes. I've worked with many puppies where it's just done so much more harm than good. You know, it's really frustrating, because it's, as Sarah said, it's often suggested, but I don't recommend these for nervous puppies. I think even with excited puppies, I would err on the side of caution. You'd be better off working on recall or meeting some friendly adult dogs, but that's a different kettle of fish. But puppy parties are probably one of the lesser good things that you could do with your nervous puppy. I've been there, and unfortunately, you know, if you've done that and it's not helped, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, you've made that choice. Don't blame yourself, because you can't beat yourself up on things that have happened in the past. Never blame yourself for any of your puppy's reasons at all. For being nervous. So I'm going to just pick up some of those comments as I glare at the screen with my glasses on, even glasses, so I have to glare. So Rosie says, Daisy loves dogs and trusts humans with dogs, but doesn't like people without dogs. There is some mad puppy logic. It can, you know, people, it could be that Daisy's so interested in playing with the other dogs, she's not really paying attention to the people there. And they're probably not paying as much attention to her, maybe. A lone person on the street can be highly suspicious, because, I'm going to come back, you're all commenting, which is really good. But so, you know, Arkle finds singular individual people far more suspicious than people in groups. He finds them a bit odd, like, why is there a random person here? Why is this person not in a group? Because he's fine with people in groups. You can't account for exactly why. So let's pick up some of these other comments before I go into the next part. My light's blinding me as well. My Greyhound and Whippet were really bad at finding nervous puppies. Fine, not nervous dogs are schoolroom bullies. Yeah, I mean, Arthur would have been like happy to course a nervous dog. I had to be really careful of the puppies, dogs in general that I socialised Arthur with, because he kind of took the approach, well, if it's running, I chase it. Which is why he was not allowed to run around with random people's small fluffy dogs. He's allowed to hang around with very well behaved small fluffy dogs who are very well behaved and well mannered, but he wasn't allowed to do that with those. I'm going off the boil a bit. So there's a few things. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to look at my list. I can never remember stuff off the top of my head. Puppy brain. So what other myths might you have? Oh my goodness. I was talking to a customer the other day, and she said she was taking a puppy out, meeting loads of puppies. And she said, this woman said to her, how many puppies have you met? How many puppies have you met? And she was like, oh, it's only a couple. And she said, you need to be meeting about 100 puppies before your puppy is 4 months old. Probably even more, she said. You have to count them. You want to be going up to strange dog, taking your puppy and making sure they say hello. And she said that is how you're going to socialise your puppy. And, you know, the lady's a really good owner, and she asked me about it. And, you know, her puppy's a normal, you know, puppy who's a bit cautious. And she was a bit unsure about new dogs. So I said I wouldn't do that, please. And I happened to bump into this lady with Arkle, and Arkle decided to be an over-friendly puppy, and I kept Arkle away because I'm not letting him upset someone else's puppy. But you don't need to be meeting hundreds of puppies. It's really important, or even people. You don't need to be meeting hundreds of people. You don't need to be meeting hundreds of, I don't know, cyclists. You don't need to be meeting anything, because if it's not what your nervous puppy needs and it's what your nervous puppy is saying they can't handle, there we're creating pessimism, and we're creating a mistrust in situations. It's always that quality over quantity. Always think, is this good for my dog? Is this experience going to result in a good outcome? Hang on, it doesn't let me. Sarah said, I think they must meet as many dogs as possible. It's so ingrained. I always thought I wasn't socialising a pup properly if I didn't socialise them with many dogs, hence doggy daycare, puppy classes, etc. Yeah. And it's something that has just, I don't know where it came from personally, because, you know, I'm sure people who've had dogs longer than I have, they probably didn't hear of this until like the last 10, 15 years. From what I can understand, like socializing as what it is now, because now we're told it should be meeting people and it should be meeting dogs and it should be going out. I don't understand. I mean, I've been told it and I've been there, but like looking at it now, I'm like, I don't understand why we were all told this. A bit of vertigo. If you see me fall, I've had a bit of vertigo recently. I should stop moving around. So you know, we don't want to be pushing our puppies who are nervous. We don't want to be doing that. It's not gonna help them. We want good quality experiences. You know, I've said quite a lot since I've got Arkle, you are not gonna see many photos of Arkle with random dogs or random people, because he is a sensitive dog, and I am picking my situations, I'm picking my experiences carefully, because I could easily see him becoming a very anxious, reactive dog. I mean, you know, full disclosure, his mum wasn't particularly sociable when I met her. So I'm a little bit like, we might need to be a bit cautious here. So, you know, I've talked about setting up scenarios, feeding from a distance. What else can you do? There are loads of things we can do. For me, socializing isn't even always about going out into the world. There's so many things you can do at home. There's so many things. I would show you with Arkle, but he's fast asleep. So I think if you're in the Facebook group, I'll probably just post some stuff later. But I'll describe it now for those watching. And we want to boost optimism. The reason that a lot of our dogs develop these reactivities or anxieties is just because they're a bit of a pessimistic dog. They see the world through, you know, lenses of, oh God, what's going to happen now? Oh no, what's going on? And it might not be with everything, you know, some of you have puppies who are confident with one thing and not with others. But if they're lacking confidence somewhere, then they're not a wholly confident puppy. Because a wholly confident puppy was like Arthur. I walked him through the bail gate and he, at what, 12 weeks? Was he 12 weeks? Yeah. And he saw everything. He saw every person, he saw dogs, he saw horse and carriages, and he kind of just went, what's your point? I mean, that's what you'd love, right? That's the better goal for me, is I just want my dog to see life as no big deal. So I can do stuff at home to boost their optimism. I can do sound desensitization. I'm going to get a YouTube playlist, and I'm going to play it at a very low level, and this is the really key part. I'm going to play it at a level so that my puppy doesn't notice it. And then I'm going to gradually, of whatever sounds I want, increase that volume each day. The sounds could be anything. They should be everything. That's what we're doing. It could be barking dogs. Arkle is terrified of the sound of barking dogs. So we play the sound of barking dogs at a very low level that doesn't trigger a response from him when he's eating his meals. And that not triggering a response is really important, because if it triggers a response, I'm actually not desensitizing him. I'm doing the opposite, and I'm sensitizing him. I'm teaching him he should make notice, because every time he hears that noise, he does notice. So I always want it at the lowest possible volume if it's something my dog is already quite worried about, or then we're not sure about. I would do traffic, buses, planes, groups of people, children, cats, dogs barking, vacuum cleaners, all sorts, depending on, you know, whether your dog needs grooming regularly, you know, you want the sound of clippers, whatever it might be. I'm going to play those. Ideally, I'm going to play those while my puppy is doing something they enjoy. So this might be where I utilize their meals, it might be where I utilize puzzles or snuffle mats, it might be where I do free work, or I set up a few different objects for them to explore and really get their brains working while they're hearing this noise. Because we just want those noises to be background. We don't even necessarily want a response, we just want them to be background noises. So sound desensitization is one way you can help your nervous puppy, and it's really easy to do from your home as long as you remember to do it. I have a whiteboard in my house because I do forget these things. I write on the whiteboard and tick it off as I go. It lives on the fridge because I spend a lot of time eating food, apparently, lately. So that's what I do. What other things can we do? We want to boost their confidence with novelty. What novel things? You've started the sound work with Daisy, Rosie, that's super. Let me know how you get on. And you know, I think I've put videos somewhere. I think it's on Instagram, but I'll put videos in the Facebook group of me doing it with Arkle too. If you have a multi-dog household, don't discount the help that a multi-dog household can be. Sometimes it's a hindrance, but when I'm playing these sounds, I'm having the other dogs around because they are not bothered. And he picks up from them that they are not bothered. Social learning is quite interesting, but that's probably a different topic for another day. What else can we do? So to boost optimism, I am going to teach my puppy, I'm just going to give them a different positive, a different experience in my house every day that should, I'm going to set it up properly, result in a good outcome. So what am I doing tomorrow with Arkle? I am getting the the fan, like for summer fan, from one of the rooms, and I'm bringing it into the garden. I'm just going to pop it out with a load of food with it not in and let him investigate. This is a pretty unusual object to a puppy who has never seen a fan. It's a really big tall one. And I'm just going to let him investigate, and that'll be a bit of novelty and positive experience. I want hundreds of positive experiences with novelty. Because then my puppy starts to go from pessimistic to optimistic, and they're more likely to respond to new things, especially things they're scared of, with a positive reaction. So I'm going to start with the fan off. Then I'm going to maybe take the fan inside where it's more enclosed. I always try and start with scary stuff outside. You generally have more space, you alright mate? More space outside. So I start with a potentially scary thing outside. Yes, black bin bags are a really good idea, Sarah. Arkle has actually been spooked by, it's really windy today, but we did take him out just for a brief gap in it, and then he got up. But the bin bags in like the poo bins were like flying, and Arkle was like, oh, it's a bit scary. But we had done some work with like plastic bags at home, and so you might prefer it. He tried to attack the plastic bags, which I'm kind of okay with, rather than scared, because Amali was terrified of bin carrier bags flying in the wind for ages, because it's novel and it's weird and it's something unusual. So yeah, black bin bags can be great. We could use cardboard boxes. I use loads of sound. If you've got kids, you've probably got toys that make loads of noises. Use the toys, get them out. Don't just suddenly set them off. Have some food around. Then let them either push them over, let them investigate it, let them have some treats off of it. Make a bit of a noise, but make sure you're ready with the food. You can't do enough food with a nervous dog, because you're not going to reinforce fear. You're not going to reinforce fear either. You can't reinforce an emotional response. So do remember that. So you can also, been talking for ages, you've all got good patience. I'm just wittering from one subject to the next now, I think. But you cannot reinforce fear. You cannot reinforce fear with helping your dog out by reassuring them, or by using food, because it's an emotional response. You can firefight it. It's that movement that gives me the vertigo. I'll probably have to go see how I feel. I've lost my train of thought entirely. Someone help me out. What was I saying? So you can't reinforce fear. It's an emotional response. It can't work like that. It just doesn't. I mean, what reinforces a dog's fear is having to react in fear, because it makes them more likely to do it next time. So don't worry either about that. So what is the overall thing that I've got here? We're creating optimism, we're using sound desensitization, we're being varied in our experiences. That Kong bag, I could use that, put it on the floor, have him walk over it, just scatter some food in it. Let me have a look. Hang on, someone's popped. I'll come to that comment in a moment. But even that plastic bag, that's enough novelty, because it's quite a hard plastic. I've also got a foam block that he puts his feet up on there. Teaching him to put his feet on objects is super helpful too for boosting confidence. Rosie, let's have a look. It says, don't know if this is relevant, but Daisy is like Arkle and doesn't like dogs barking, but her reaction is to bark back. In the garden, this can be difficult if she can hear other dogs barking. Currently training the positive interruption, but how do I get her out of the bark loop? When you've got the positive interrupter, it will get her out of the bark loop, because she's going to see, so the positive interrupter for those, because I'm trying to, yeah, ooh, click something. Oh, I have clicked something, that's not good. Oh, good. The lighting's now gone fun. A positive interrupter is what we would train to get our dog's attention when they're doing something we don't want them to. So it's our way of saying, oh, I'd rather you didn't. So for Arkle, it is a ridiculous kissy noise where I go, and he quite likes that, and he stops what he's doing. You have to build this up quite a lot, so I pair it with food, and I start to do it when they're distracted. Then I would build it up to when they are doing a behaviour like barking that I'm really not a fan of. But you've got to build it up to get them out of that loop. Otherwise, oh God, I have clicked something. Somebody help. Is that better? No, I'm making it worse. I'll go soon. It's going to carry on. That might have done it. I should never touch the screen. Otherwise, if I've got a dog who's consistently barking in the garden, I'm going to have them on a line, like a lead trailing, and if they start barking, I'm just going to, not drag them in, just go, right, come on, we're coming in. Marley can be a barker in the garden, particularly as there is a dog just behind us that barks quite a lot, and it's left to bark all day, and Marley finds this dog very annoying because it also jumps at a fence. And if that dog's barking and I can't get him back with a positive interrupter, I am going to just take the line and bring him in, because I don't want him to stand there rehearsing barking. Marley knows how to bark. Marley knows how to bark really well. So I don't want to be in letting him self-reward with barking. So I'm going to bring him in. It's the better option. If I really want to and I had enough space, I might just say, hey, find it in a different corner of the garden and see if that might bring them out of it. Some dogs that's going to be enough. A lot of dogs it's probably not going to be enough. But I think, which of my dogs would that work with? Oh, that would have worked with Arthur. Arthur used to get a bit excited chasing Marley barking. When if I just shout, find it, got some food. Okay, brilliant, free food. Cheers, mate. So yeah, I don't know if that's out through, where is he? I'm just playing with a screen at this point with lighting. So we've talked about not putting fearful puppies in situations they can't handle, setting them up for success with good quality experiences, and this applies to anything, quality not quantity. Whether you've got an overexcited dog or a nervous puppy, quality is better than quantity with experiences. That's good. So we want good quality experiences. We want to boost their optimism using sound desensitization, using novelty and associated with rewards, and also fun behaviours. It's really important to note that as trainers, as humans, as owners, we tend to focus a lot on self-control behaviours, like our leave-its and our sits and our stays and all of these behaviours. And these are really good and helpful for life. But self-control takes self-control away, if that makes sense. When you're asking a puppy to do self-control, it means they've got a little less self-control to use the rest of that day. This applies to any dog, to be fair. It's why if I do self-control behaviours, I do them at the end of the day, personally. So self-control isn't always the thing that I'm looking for with a nervous puppy as well. It was something that was very clear with Arthur as he got ill. He became quite nervous, and he could do leave-its, but he stopped engaging quite a lot. As some of you who are on Zoom saw, he stopped engaging quite a lot. And because as he got nervous, making him be self-controlled was making him a little subdued, and it wasn't encouraging positivity and good quality. So what I'm doing a lot of with Arkle while he's quite nervous is I don't really, if you've been listening to me for a while, in any of my sessions, I'm not too fussed about his sit. I don't really give a stuff about his sit. I don't really give a stuff about his stay. I'll do it now and then, but I don't really care at this point. He's a puppy. He's a nervous puppy. What is my priority with a nervous puppy? Confidence building. What builds confidence? Fun behaviours. Fun behaviours build confidence. So we are doing the paws up. We are doing the middles. We are doing the chasing games with me. We are playing tuggy. We are doing things that give him a serotonin release. We're doing things that get him happy. We are doing things that when he is with me, they're enjoyable. If I am only ever doing self-control and sits and downs and leave-its, I'm starting to become the fun police. And do we really want to go to the fun police when we're a bit scared of life? Probably not. So I'm going to... He's fast asleep. I'm probably going to make sure I'm doing engaging active activities. I might do body awareness too, with, you know, fun little balance paths to really get their confidence up, because body awareness does bring greater confidence. But I'm not going to overdo the self-control with a nervous dog. I'm gonna do some of it, you know, particularly if they are reactive. I'm probably going to increase it, but I'm not going to do it in the context of sit, stay, leave it, whatever else I can think of. While they are very valuable in a real life situation, if I overtrain these, I'm going to have a very despondent puppy. I'm going to have a puppy who sees life as a bit of a chore. If I have a nervous puppy, I need them to see life as amazing. So we're going to do spins, we're going to do middles, we're going to do touches, we're going to do recall, we're going to chase me up the garden, which is very tiring. We're going to do the fun stuff, because I want my puppy to be as full of serotonin and as optimistic as humanly possible. And the way to do that is by having fun. So, I think I'm going to have to start wrapping up soon, because I'm getting quite a degree of dizziness. Again, I don't know what this is about. Never had it before. I've had it in the last few days, for those that don't know. So, does anyone have any questions? There was one actually really good question. I think it was Sarah on my post, actually, about spaying and castration, I think. I think it might have been you. I think that might have been your question. I might have invented it. Yeah, that's a good question about nervous puppies. If it was a question you asked, if it was a question I invented, I'm really sorry. Ask the question you asked instead. I would never castrate a young puppy who is nervous, like a male puppy. I wouldn't castrate them. Testosterone and hormones that our puppies have give them confidence. They help them grow effectively. It's a whole probably other kettle of fish, but because I know some of you get bored as well, probably, and I'll wind up in a minute. But Marley, we castrated him as a very nervous dog at 13 months, which isn't, you know, puppy. It's not a pediatric castration. He was still very anxious. He was still very puppy-like, and about 3 weeks after castration, he became very reactive, became very confrontational. He became very different because he needed that testosterone to feel confident. He needed that because confidence is a good thing. You know, I know people with excited dogs can find it frustrating, but confidence is the best thing. Because a dog who is confident doesn't feel the need to bark and lunge to get something away. They know that they're confident enough to handle it. So I wouldn't castrate a male dog who is anxious until the anxiety has been resolved. We never got Arthur castrated, which was, you know, with the cooperation and chatting. I'm definitely going to come to female pups, Sarah. But we didn't castrate Marley because he... wrong dog. Arthur. We didn't castrate Arthur because he had separation anxiety. I had a couple of chats with my vets who are wonderful. My vets are amazing, by the way. I use Ray's vets. They're amazing. And we decided that castration wasn't a good option for Arthur because he was already having these anxiety problems. We felt like there was a good chance that it was going to increase them. And we didn't want that with Arthur. He was fun enough. So yeah, so with bitches, it's always a little bit more complicated because it depends on your setup. I am more experienced with males. I've had 4 male dogs, but with bitches, the general suggestion is at the minimum you want to give them 1 season for, you know, physical, and I will back this up with some links later before anyone tells me off, because this is just from a behavioural perspective and from what I know and what I've learned online, and I'll pop some links up later, but ideally from what I understand you want to be aiming for 1 season. Because this does give them, you know, the hormones they need. It helps them grow. I think the gold standard, and don't quote me on it, I'll try and find you some links, Sarah, is 2 seasons. And then I think you begin to have to weigh up like behaviour and the risk of pyometra. And again, I'm not experienced enough to know exactly how to advise from 2 seasons plus. But again, that's just... and that's only if you can keep them away from male dogs, because I get told off otherwise, and it's only if you can keep them safe. All of those things. It's a shame that other vets don't give a holistic view with neutering dogs, Susanna. Absolutely. I mean, my vet that in the past, not the vets I use now, the vets I use now are great, but in the past I've been to other vets, and it was the vet that recommended Marley was castrated. I didn't want to have him castrated, but he was very much a family dog at the time, and he was causing some friction with the other dogs, and my vet said, they're fighting over dominance, you need to castrate him and it'll sort it. Cheers. Cheers. I've lived with that one for 10 years now and I'm still frustrated. Sorry, Sarah, I will come back to that as well. So yeah, I think that's it. I think it's at least 1 season, ideally 2 seasons is like the gold standard, and from there I'll find you those links. I couldn't advise you perfectly because it's not quite, bitches in season isn't quite my strong point. Maybe someone else, because I know a few of you on here, or at least maybe one of you that I can see that's stuck around, has more experience with bitches. But yeah, so I'm probably, yeah, so that was another myth, is that castration and spaying can help reduce anxiety. I don't think I've ever found it help reduce anxiety. I think I've seen it increase problems. With a male dog, you have the luxury of waiting as long as you like. With a bitch, you do have to weigh up that risk of pyometra. If you do find that a bitch is having seasons where they, what's it called? Someone's going to tell me in a minute. Phantom pregnancies? Or I think that's what I'm trying to say. Find that they have those, then I would spay as soon as you're allowed to, basically, because that's not going to help them in the long term. So I've talked for quite some time, and my views have gradually dropped the longer I've talked. So I'm probably going to start wrapping up. And thanks those of you who are watching for watching. We're talking about nervous puppies. We want to boost their confidence. We don't want to flood them. We don't want to put them in situations they can't handle. We don't want to take them to puppy parties. We don't want to be castrating and spaying them. We do want to be filling them with optimism. We do want to be giving them good experiences. We do want to be thinking about quality, not quantity. The one thing that I really want everyone to take away, and it's unfortunate there's only a few of you left, is that if you have a nervous puppy, it is not your fault. Don't blame yourself. There's absolutely no reason you should be blaming yourself for having a nervous puppy, or having a puppy that's reactive, or having a puppy that has any sort of problem. As I said, I think genetics count for a lot, and I think a lot of the time the puppies who have a bit of nerves are often very lucky to be with owners who are helping them out. So you can't blame yourself at all, as much as it's sometimes tempting to. I'm definitely having those experiences with my puppy, but I won't be blaming myself, because it's just something we have to deal with. We have to approach together. So I hope maybe those that have left have enjoyed this. I didn't mean to go on that long, but you were all wonderfully cooperative, commenting and asking questions. So I will always keep going as long as I can. I hope you've enjoyed the Facebook Live. I will try and do these more regularly with a variety of subjects. So if you want to message me with some ideas, I'm all open for them. Otherwise, I hit the same subjects every time. If you have any questions or you want any links sharing with you, just give me a message on the page or email me at waggingwonderslincoln@gmail.com. But otherwise, I'm going to let you all go. Enjoy your weekends and hope that was helpful. Bye, everyone.